Have you noticed it? Because I absolutely have. When I go to YouTube, there is a significant chance I will see some form of viral video essay appear that is about how Destiny 2 is running into significant problems. And that is why we're all here today. I want to tie the whole thing up in a bow, work out what is going on with Bungie, what's going on with Destiny 2, and what this could kind of mean more broadly, because meanwhile, we've got Sony, who now own Bungie, who are constantly extolling the virtues of Bungie as live service champions, all amid the likes of, say, a GDC presentation coming out that absolutely, it was like developers talking shop about like, hey, look, don't give your players too much good at once because then you'll just set them up to, you'll set yourself up to underdeliver, and a whole bunch of things that make sense if they're devs talking to devs, but when players see that, it's absolutely kind of rough, especially if that's happening amid lots of problems in the game. And it is funny then that every publisher wanted a Destiny, yet Destiny itself has had nothing but drama for absolutely years. We're now 6 years after the launch of Destiny 2. It now has an audience where there's a lot of anger around almost every aspect of the game, and it is quite justified. We have constant technical issues, and it's yet another live service model that is trying to thread the needle of a narrative and trying to get that right with players' expectations. And it probably doesn't mean that they want to have, say, a video such as Destiny 2 has become a microtransaction hell appearing on, honestly, a fairly regular basis. And this is all, again, as I said, that Sony are proudly boasting to their investors that Bungie are their ace in the sleeve, right? Their ace weapon. Now, Bungie clearly know. They've announced the Destiny 2 showcase in August. That is preparing for the end of Year 10 of Destiny, and essentially the end of this light and darkness arc that will happen in Destiny 2, the final shape that comes out in 2024. Yet, as Destiny experiences all these problems that real players who are actually paying and playing right now are feeling, they also know that Marathon is in development. Of course, Marathon, their second title of New Bungie, and an extraction shooter, which to a lot of people who say maybe are playing Destiny 2 PvP and are wondering, where is the PvP? Maybe they're thinking, that's where the PvP is, not where I am and where I've invested my time and money. They may just be a little bit pissed off about that. So, let's go into the pay-to-win aspect of things. This is the one that was kind of shocking to me, and ultimately it is a case, as with all things of this game, it's just wounds, little cuts adding up to a gaping wound. In this case, and at this point in the game's lifespan, the reward model is very much shifted towards the seasonal battle pass model, rather than, just getting access through a raid or a campaign reward or from vendors. And that means that things implemented only via the battle pass can potentially be a problem, and that's what brings me to Season of the Deep. So, the Deep Side Harmonizer is an item that is, absolutely problematic. Basically, right, it's a mechanical reward that Bungie have said is initially only available through the Seasonal Battle Pass, and we don't know how it may change after this season, but again, with how Bungie have went, a lot of people are just assuming, oh yeah, you're probably just going to make it be purchased for silver, aren't you? Anyway, how this works, right? There are 6 in the Battle Pass, 3 on the free Battle Pass, and 3 in the paid one. No other way to get them in the game, and there's not enough to apply to each weapon type in the game. And basically, to put it into layman terms, this allows you to basically take your weapon and make it a god roll, right? Like perfect stats. That's what this does. And in a way, you can see how this could make sense for Bungie. It's a bit of a catch-up item, You start a new character, you get to this point in the battle pass, you get a gun, it's not really ideal, but you want to jump into the raid. Oh, you have one of these, you use it in your gun, bam, away you go. It's a good form of catch-up that lets people get into the new content. And of course, if this is catch-up, they'd only want there to be so many so that they don't totally, invalidate their own gameplay loops. But of course, the thing is, one of these feels really valuable, so will you want to buy the battle pass to get more of them? Yes, and that makes sense from a business case, but it does mean, even without tier skips, it does mean that there is player power on the battle pass. That is something that Diablo 4 doesn't do. It's something that very few like big Western games do, and that's why it's shocking to see this happen with Destiny 2. And to be honest, it continually reminds me of a whole family of mobile games, but I'll get into that in a little bit. So the thing is that previously Destiny added the ability to purchase tier skips for the Battle Pass, and that does mean that somebody can just buy the tier skips and get all the perfect weapons that they want. So between the tier skips and there being 3 in the paid version of the Battle Pass, we undoubtedly get pay to win, because getting a god roll version of Abyss weapon, right, is like the best weapon, and now I have a perfect roll. That is absolutely pay to win. It is pay to skip. Yes, you skip a bunch of grinding and, that stuff, but it is also pay to win. You are doing both, undoubtedly. And of course, need I even say that this creates really bad incentives for the future, right? In terms of making things more grindy or making it harder to get a god roll, therefore increasing the value of this item. But basically, as a pattern, every time Bungie have updated the monetization of this game, it has been against the players. It has not been in the favor of players. And that even gets you to, you look at picking up the game and you just see here, £342.88. That's how much it costs to get all the content, all the content for the game. That said, are you going to buy Lightfall and Lightfall Plus Annual Pass? Maybe not, but the point here is, a lot of this stuff does add up in this free-to-play game. But even it being free-to-play is weird, because it's not free-to-play, it's free to try. And I think one of the big YouTubers pointed that out, but it's absolutely how I felt when I hopped back into Destiny 2 and I saw the free-to-play new player experience. Then I looked at the content available to a free player, and I was just like, why the hell would I put time into this for free? This makes absolutely no sense. This is a trial. This is a time-unlimited free trial of the game, nothing more. Of course, we bring into this all the problems with vaulting and stuff like that, and in addition to having to pay for all the content like that, it's then been pointed out that there are dungeon keys, and this was insane to me. Now, dungeons in this franchise have always been weird, because I remember way back in the day, I got this on Xbox, but PlayStation players, they just had another dungeon in the game. And it's not like the game had a massive quantity of dungeons. But now the way it works is, you can buy the deluxe edition of the game, right? And that will give you both of the dungeons released in that year. Or you can buy each one separately via a dungeon key, costing 2,000 silver, which is $20. And $20 for a dungeon? That's mad. That's completely insane. I mean, I am flabbergasted by how expensive they make things. And of course that means that yes, dungeons are therefore not a part of the regular seasonal content that's covered by your battle passes and stuff. And of course neither are these seasonal event cards, which are basically mini cosmetic battle passes that you cannot get without playing. So it's like a battle pass within your overall battle pass. And these are fascinating because they remind me of mobile games. I forget the name of the company, but they made a game called Archero, and they've made a bunch of other games. One of them is, I think it's called Survivors.io or something. I think that's what they called it. But a while ago, I did a deep dive into playing a bunch of mobile games to see how all of the techniques that these companies use, how they actually work, the sorts of things that they do. And you see this whole thing of a little mini battle pass. It is one of the most powerful tools in their box. So, if you see this and you're only a PC gamer, you might be like, well, that's a bit of a weird thing. But since I've done a lot of research into the free-to-play mobile site to see the dark things that these companies are using, this, what Bungie's doing, is 100% mobile game shit. That's what they're doing. They're doing full-blown mobile game shit, which is awful to see. Now, of course, there is then price. So the seasonal battle pass, they're more expensive, even though, they no longer contain a dungeon. They're 1,000 silver to 1,200 silver, right? That was the price increase. So 1,000 silver, $10, 1,200 silver, $12, right? The version that comes with skips, 2,000 silver, and then it went to 2,200 silver. Now, there were no price changes for the Lightfall Standard Edition, which gives you the current season when you buy it, or the Annual Pass Edition, which gives you the whole expansion's worth of seasons. But the thing is, you cannot buy 1,200 silver. You could buy 1,000 silver, and this is so scummy. You could buy 1,000 silver, right? This season pass could just cost you $10. However, now they only sell you 1,000 silver plus 100 bonus silver when the expansion costs 1,200, and that means you need to buy another tier up. You cannot directly buy the thing. So they actually haven't increased, for many players anyway, they haven't increased the price to 1,200. Or at least the, entry price the first time they buy it. No, and that's even a part of it. They want you to go the tier up so that in the next season, you'll have enough leftover silver that you only have to, buy a smaller bundle of silver. All this stuff that's just working for engagement. And it's absolutely disgusting. Of course, then the question is, where is this money going? And I think that's where a lot of people start to feel a bit funky, because there's been a large downgrade. Now, it's like one of the people in our office in the game team, he plays a lot of Destiny. I was talking to him about this. And essentially the read on it here, with Witch Queen, they chose an aesthetic, right? They chose like a direction to go in, and they went in that direction hard. But seemingly the lesson that they learned from that is go hard in a direction. Not that maybe people liked the look, feel, and tone of Witch Queen. So for this, they went with a weird 80s action movie vibe. And it is so bizarre, especially in comparison to the big opening, the opening cinematic where, oh no, the happy circles went away and now the evil triangles are trying to attack our circle, which seemed to be all, oh dear, doom, gloom, this is serious. And then you have these weird surfs up bros who frankly are just extremely annoying. So it's bizarre. The story was essentially widely hated. You even had the whole situation with the Veil. People kept on talking about the Veil. Nobody stopped to explain to the player what the Veil is in a way that actually resulted in people knowing what was going on fully. Because that's something that was left to the community, and I believe Bungie are also patching in a explanation to the Veil, which is insane. Like, the level of incompetence clearly that went into this. Now, the problem here is that Witch Queen was really fantastic. It had a tone that people liked, and I think it had a tone that, when you consider that it's called Lightfall, for God's sake. And it's the penultimate, this is when shit's getting serious. This is like your Shadowbringers and Endwalker. And they randomly do a, action movie. It's bizarre. But then also, the campaign is a bit more piecemeal, or not campaign, but the story is spread amongst the seasons. So broadly, you got people, feeling like, right, these seasons have got to do the heavy lifting. We are coming up to the big culmination of a decade of this franchise. And you've just cocked up the penultimate entry, the thing that should be teeing up the end for success. And I think that's the thing that's really rattled people. Because it's like, if this has been so bad, then what the hell's going on with the next one? There is a little bit of a conspiracy, actually, that the opening and ending cinematic for this, because they do just cut perfectly. A lot of people are basically thinking, hang on a second. Did you just cut those events, slice them out, and put a bunch of filler in the middle, call that Lightfall, and then do the final shape? Is this just a delaying tactic to buy more time? Who knows? I mean, if it is, Bungie will certainly never admit that. Of course, in terms of gameplay then, the raids and endgame content have been a little bit divisive. In this case, I believe the raid was significantly easier than expected. PvP is perceived to have been abandoned. There's been no new Crucible maps since Season 18, which was August 2022, amid other issues existing in PvP. Now, they have said that Season 22 will contain a PvP map, or new maps, but again, people are just thinking okay, so we spent a year in a content drought, meanwhile you announced Marathon. Okay, cool. I guess we are just pay pigs to make Marathon money, I guess. That's how, may not be the case, but it's how the people feel, and that's the bit that matters. And then also technical hurdles, because especially through Lightfall, this game has been absolutely falling to pieces on a regular basis. Tom Warren here, this is the 25th of June, so this is not just launch quibbles. No, this is the ongoing live service, where, yeah, they said there's not a week goes by that Destiny 2 doesn't have major server issues. And basically the people are kind of fed up, even saying the biggest Destiny 2 streamer isn't playing the game. And certainly whenever you lose community momentum, that is a bad sign. Now, this actually resulted in a blog post that happened at the end of June, and they basically said that they massively scaled up their servers for Lightfall. And that did work. The game actually hit peak concurrence on Steam with Lightfall. So it actually handled that traffic well. But then the problem is the part of their server architecture that's handling the actual rewards, or the actual gameplay, so tracking, rewards, kills, any tracking data, which for a game like this is going to be a lot, and then assigns that to the correct person, that kept on flagging up errors as time went on. And the automated system that should kick in and recover those wasn't actually working in the live environment. And that basically meant that they had to keep on turning it on and off again. And they're now in a situation where they can't fundamentally fix the problem, So what they need to do is work out how to make all of this better while also really making sure they don't make it worse. That is taking a whole bunch of time. And all of this has just led to a lot of community dissatisfaction, and it's led to where I come into this story, and after watching a bunch of skill up videos about Destiny during Witch Queen and thinking, you know what? I think I'll hop into Destiny in the next expansion. This really seems great. I then see the Steam reviews for this expansion, and I decide not to pick up Destiny 2 Lightfall. And then whenever I'm browsing YouTube, I keep on seeing these viral videos, like this one that was like really fascinating. These viral videos popping up, like 1.3 million views in 3 weeks. It's a fantastic video, by the way. If you want the deep dive, like we do have all the sources linked down below, and we do that for all the videos in this channel. And that's where I noticed, like, okay, there are enough viral videos here that there's definitely something I need to look into. Because I knew about a bunch of these problems individually, but it's just tying them all together and seeing honestly how fucked the situation is. And now that actually leads to problems, because we, as an example, have a community manager for Bungie that was doxxed and then sent a bunch of death threats. Now, death threat randomly, someone will be like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill you in Minecraft. Yeah, whatever, who gives a shit? If that happens after your personal information has got out there, you are going to feel, you're going to feel quite worried, aren't you? Like, that's a natural thing for any person to feel. And because of this, Bungie have basically had to pull back a lot of their CMs, and obviously they've got to protect their team. They have to protect their staff first, especially if those staff are ultimately dealing with a situation that the company's put them in. But it does mean that the apparatus of communication is falling apart. It's the sort of thing. People are right to be angry. Obviously, you can take very wrong actions, such as doxing people. Extremely wrong. But ultimately, I think this is just, like, we're at the stage of anger now. If this goes on for too long, it'll be apathy and drifting away. And to be honest, given the cavalcade of issues that Destiny's had, I'm surprised that there hasn't been more apathy. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're on borrowed time. I think what this does fundamentally mean, though, unless the final shape is an utter 10 out of 10 banger, this stuff's going apathy direction, in my view. So ultimately then, that's what's went on. This is firmly a situation of Bungie's own creation. We now look ahead to the final shape and, of course, whatever they talk about in August of this year, because that's the end of the Light and Dark saga. They've been clear that Destiny 2 doesn't end after that it does continue, but will the people be there for that? Ultimately, when we look at the financial side of things, it does seem that this game is getting more and more and more greedy over time. I find it hard to imagine them being more greedy and people being continually okay with that. I mean, we now have mini battle passes inside your battle pass effectively. We have being able to pay for a god roll on a weapon. Like, you have to earn the weapon first, but that you can just apply a god roll to it, and that's something you can pay for. That's crazy. What other forms of paid convenience will there be? Even the perception then of nickel and diming, because the thing about nickel and diming is, a lot of people could say, oh, this is like going, I think it's Chipotle in America. For us here in Belfast, it'd be Boujin, but you're like, hey, I want this, I want that, I want that, I want that. You're like, of the menu of items I can have in my burrito, these are the things that I want. But the problem is, in video games, that feels like nickel and diming. Because you're supposed to be logging into an entertainment experience. And you don't want to feel like you're living inside a shop. And as time goes on, it really feels like Destiny 2 is just a big shop. And I suppose then, if the game's struggling right now and people are hearing a bunch of buzz about Marathon, what should be, wow, look at Bungie, the company that I like, look how well they're doing, Destiny's a big success, oh, look, we've got a big new game that's reviving their oldest IP, this is so exciting. Instead of it being that, because they have shat the bed with Destiny, it is now, wow, they're squeezing us dry, and look at that. Their efforts really going into that. No wonder things feel so bad for me, a Destiny player. Even though, of course, the actual gameplay is terrific. It's really fun. There's loads of great work that they do in Destiny. It is just the way that the company is running things. So let me know what you think about this. I might go in for the final shape. Destiny 2 is a game I've bounced in and out of. Mostly out, but a few times in pretty deep. Especially Season of the Drifter I enjoyed. I don't know, maybe I'll show up for the end, but absolutely only if things get better, because this is rough. And it's also the end of today's video. Okay, do you want more? Check out yesterday's video. There will be a video tomorrow, so be sure to sub for that. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you next time.